Okay, you ready? I need a motion to bring the Town Board Business Workshop meeting of January 10th, 2013 to order.
So moved.
Salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would a moment of silence for the military serving this country and out of this country. Thank you. Emergency exits are on your left and the rear, our right. And a roll call, please, Dawn.
Councilwoman Newmer.
Here.
Councilwoman Brody. Here. Councilman Haas.
Here.
Councilwoman Doyle. Here. Supervisor Flood.
Here. Public comments, we have any?
I didn't have that sheet out. Does anyone have a public comment?
Hi, good evening, everybody. I just wanted to remind everybody, or anybody else who wants to participate, this Saturday from noon to 2, we're having the Degenerating Day. If you want to come help us, we got to take all those decorations down that graced our town this season from 1:45 to 2 at the Amenia Park Library. I finally heard back from the board, Vicki. We'll be offering hot cocoa and cupcakes. Just let me know you're coming, otherwise we won't have food for you. We have a tight head count on food. So if you want to come help us take all that stuff down, please show up. Fountain Square, Saturday, noon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Highway report. Amy's not here. Town clerk's report.
First, I'd like to start off by saying thank you to all the voters. This is my first town board meeting where I get to speak. And I also want to let you know that yesterday I went out and I picked up the town taxes. So starting tomorrow night, Patty and I will be processing them in the office, and they will be in the mailbox by Tuesday the 15th. So by the end of next week, just look in your mailboxes because they should be there.
Committee reports, Marco?
First, water reports presented in a while here, but basically on track. Usage was up a little bit in December. I think that's because of people being home. There's no reported issues out there, but up slightly. Things that were accomplished in December, of course, we had well 1 fracking sample results taken. Health department confirmed the results. The chlorine pumps were changed on Lavelle Road. That was replaced. Meter reads were just done this quarter. We had 10 continuous leaks. So that's been good. The last couple of quarters have been pretty low on that, which is a very good thing. We used to be up in the 20s and 30s, last year this time and years before, so that's very good. 17 meters had either no reads or bad reads. We had been going out and trying to fix those. We had 2 meters that had broken wires. They were repaired. 1 meter that was not installed. 3 meters with bad registers. They were replaced. Now, Tie Sales, again, this has a 25-year warranty. Tie Sales will replace these bad registers, radios, and meters as long as they're not physically damaged under warranty. So I just need to ship them back for one-for-one replacements. And we did send the rest of the residents out in the community that had bad meter reads that we could not get in touch with. We did send them letters in their bills. Their bills are maybe slightly higher or a lot higher according to what the usage actually read on the bad read. I just want to give people a heads up on that, not to fall down and have a heart attack. But those bills will be corrected as long as they contact us and we can correct the issue And then, of course, we'll never know the true read because the meters were defective or there was a bad radio, unless we can physically get it off the meter somehow. So we may or may not be able to get the results, and we'll adjust the bills accordingly to either historical data or flat rate, whichever is accurate. We also got New York Rural Water. I requested to have a wellhead assessment program done on our wellheads throughout the community. There's an FDA funding for this, so it's free, no charge to the town. It's something that is going to be mandated here in the future. Just trying to get ahead of the ball game, and since it's free and there's no cost to us, let's get it done. It's going to be done. It's going to take 3 to 4 months for the process to happen. They'll do this is all part of like Homeland Security and part of keeping our wells safe from outside contaminants. So they'll give us a free evaluation, a free report, and recommendations. And this will be about a 3 to 4 month process that I'll be working with them on. Also, we talked about the Water Committee was requesting to have an engineering system evaluation done on our system to see where our weak points are, and be able to get with that, might be able to go ahead with future grants as they come available, since we would have a PE evaluation done. Just to get an approximate cost on that, again, I haven't committed to anything, but just wanted to get a ballpark figure, looking at about $20,000 for that assessment, for that evaluation to be done.
Who comes up with that figure?
Our engineer that we've been using came up with that figure. So again, I haven't solicited. I just wanted to get a ballpark so we kind of know what we're dealing with. It hasn't been any hard numbers. It's just a ballpark, about $20,000 to do a system evaluation. And again, that will tell us all of our weak points and possible improvements in the system if we needed to. Now, on the cross-contamination program, again, we talked about it last meeting. What I talked about with the health department again, and it sounds like a good idea, is I'm going to ask New York Rural Water also to do an evaluation on our system, to have a third party do an evaluation on our system and tell us the same things that we have been highlighting about areas that should have either RPZs, double check valves, or some type of cross-contamination program set up. And they're willing to do that. That could take anywhere between 1 to 2 months for those results, but I think we're going to be pretty much in line after talking to the health department of what we've already suggested. But again, it gives us another third-party evaluation. There is no charge on that, and that is this program is federally funded. Any questions? Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco.
Any other committees? Arlene? Go ahead.
Arlene Giuliano, town historian. I have a few things here, so bear with me if I get them. Try not to get them mixed up. Well, first of all, I'm going to start out with, get rid of the left. I have some poster boards just about that size that were done by the Amenia Historical Society for the War of 1812 and were on display at Haven's one of Haven's windows for about 6 weeks. I hate to pull them apart. They really are, and I just, wondered if here in the town hall that I could put them up for a while. Meaning put them up is not going to be an easy thing because they are that size. But they really are. They're great pictures, and that is one of the commemorative events historians are supposed to be, doing something about, which I have done something about. But I don't know, I could put them right over there. We could see. I'll bring them in and see. But I really,
I think you should bring them in.
So try, if it's not the right thing, I'll take them home. But I am trying to continue with my obligations in regards to the commemorative years of that war in the Civil War. I just got a letter today from Dutchess County Historical Society, of which we are a member, and this is paid for by the taxpayers out of my line item of expenses, which isn't too big, right? $300, and I usually don't spend it all. But in this instance, to be a member, I think that for the town to be a member of Dutchess County, I think that's a good thing. So we've been a member for a couple of years. And I think it costs $30 or $40, something like that. So today I get a letter which says, with thanks for your past support, we are providing you with a complimentary membership in the Dutchess County Historical Society. Enclosed is your new membership card. Your membership will extend through 2014. So this year, guys, we get it for free. All right? And I think that's good. I can't attend all their events. There's no way. Most of them are in Poughkeepsie. But I have managed to attend their annual meeting specifically, and a couple of other events. But I do try. But on the other hand, we do get information from them, and that's a good thing to keep a connect. And they're working very closely along with the rest of us, town historians, with the new Dutchess County historian, Will Tatum. And there's a meeting coming up in February for all of us with him. He's a really nice guy, and he really keeps in touch. And email back and forth, and since that's the favorite way in this world today, that he is really very right on, and so I think we got a good pick there. And okay, before I get into the scanning event, which is taking place next week for pictures for the upcoming Poughkeepsie Journal's 300 Years of Democracy in the county, I will say, let you know that this Saturday, which is pickup day, so I don't know, a cleanup day there, and it is not much time, but I couldn't get here on your organization reorg meeting. I don't know if I was invited anyway, but on the other hand, I don't mean that in any way other than because you had your plans set up, but I couldn't get here. But anyway, there is at the Empire Museum, the Empire State in the Civil War is being exhibited at the New York State Museum in Albany, and it's a freebie for this January 12th from 9:30 to 12:30 and 1 to 4 p.m. There's usually a small cost to that, so I don't know if anybody, again, is interested, but they will have a very good display there, I'm sure. I tend to get up there sometime because that display is going to be there until throughout 2013. In regards to the scanning, which I guess, and this is, and the preparation of an 300th anniversary book, and there's been quite a bit of publicity on it, and I've talked about it before, so I don't, if are you relating to what I'm talking about, basically? I probably, okay? That the journal is almost daily now putting out a copy. Not everybody buys a journal, so that's why I try to do my work otherwise too in various other ways. But they are continuing to seek photos, more than photos, and which the photos depict the political life. They want public service and governmental agencies and activities, which include the firemen as one particular group, and political buttons. I got a few of them, and a pencil. Also, photos taken in Dutchess from the earliest days. The schedule, I left a copy of the schedule in the town clerk's office last week in December. I put it in a particular holder. I also and included a copy of the form that has to be filled out for each picture, which is very brief, but each picture has to be explained for the, sake of the Poughkeepsie Journal's understanding what they're, what it's about. But I had hoped that that kind of information, and this was the, I don't think you can see it, but I had hoped that that information would have got on the TV, but I don't think it, but I'm not sure. Where, is it? It has, okay, because I just missed it. So thank you for that. But I will remind Ameniaites that Wednesday, January 16th from 3 to 6 p.m., if you want to bring photos personally and have them scanned and be able to take them back with you at home, and you know where they are, that will be at the Movie House, which in Millerton, I repeat the date, January 16th, from 3 to 6 p.m. I intend, the Lord willing, to be there and take whatever I have and whatever anybody else would like to give me. Andy Murphy, as an example, has made a contact. I do have some Amenia Fire Company, and I've got to double check on the Walsake Fire Company that those particular organizations, which they have, has been spelled out as being groups they would certainly like to have pictures in this particular thing. But so we're only going to have a few pages, so I really don't know how they're going to select them, but it is their choice, the last I knew, that they will choose the pictures. But it's really almost anything, in my opinion, but hopefully representative of people who have been in elective office and organizations that work with the town and town parades, they like that. That's what I'm saying. So keep that date in mind, and again, it's coming close, it's next week. That doesn't mean that seeking of information or seeking of pictures may be over. Maybe the picture's over, but those of us who are town historians do have to write a narrative for our particular section. And as I said a couple months ago, I'll do the best I can and to get Amenia in this particular pictorial edition that demonstrates 300 years of democracy in Dutchess County, 1713 to 2013. Okay. One more thing, I have received a copy, well, on the computer, so I had to copy it, a permit from Chuck Walters, New York State DOT, in regards to the historic road marker. Now, this is, I'm sure we're not going to put it in January because of, but we have the year of 2013 to put that marker in and proceed with what we have to do, which is contact the people who are going to make it, and I have given, I think, Bill information on that, Catskill. Mm-hmm. Right. But this other permit just came through, and who do you want me to give it to, Mary?
Town clerk.
All right, okay. And that's what I wanted to be sure of. All right, so, but you're closed tomorrow?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to be open all year long. I thought you were going to be open every day.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. All right, so I'll bring that in, and that's basically, keeping busy.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else? Christine? Who's doing it, you or Tom?
Don't think I have to introduce her because everybody in town knows who she is, Christine. But she is our ongoing chairman of Record Age.
Happy New Year to everybody. I have a few things I'd like to talk about. First of all, my name is Christine Ford, and I am from the Amenia Recreation Commission, which meets once a month. It's the second Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m. here upstairs. So if anybody would like to come or have anything they would like to plan on doing for our community, please come and join us. We've been doing movie night. It's the first Friday of each month. It's free fun for all ages. We get popcorn out. We have 2 months left. February 1st will be Happy Feet, and that's where I'm asking everybody to wear their slippers. And then March 1st, we bought a zoo and bring in a zoo animal. And then that will be our last one in March. We will start back in November 2013 to March 2014, just because of sports, soccer, baseball, everything's in there. But I want to thank everybody because we just got a new indoor-outdoor movie screen which measures 120 inches diagonal. We got an Edison Power Light projector, and the movie was just awesome. Just to see this out there, the kids loved it. And I want to say big thanks out there to Jim Devine. He does the surround sound for me. I have 2 young men, William Ford and Zach Klinger, who make the popcorn and don't let no one else touch it. I have 2 other young men that help me, Thomas and Harrison Ford. They help set up and clean up. And then Victoria Perotti, thank you very much for helping to open up and close when I need to, and Dawn will too if she's there. Another thing I want to talk about is the Wasaig Park. We have the mulch for the playgrounds here. Stanley Whitehead has been bringing it down for me. So on December 24th and the December 26th, myself and my 3 sons, Thomas, Harrison, and William, we are all down there and we put the mulch around where the playground is, where the swings are. That's totally done. The other section needs more mulch brought down, so we quit because it started snowing on the 26th and I was cold, and so we're going to start that back up in the spring and just finish it up. Another problem that I'm just a little upset about is, last year we worked really hard to get the Wasaig Park up, fix it, the baseball field for the kids to be down there and play. The problem I have is when the people decide to walk their dogs on the fields and don't pick up after themselves. That's showing no respect to the children that really worked hard in doing this. Not only the children, but the adults. I had a whole bunch of people down there, probably about, 40 altogether, and it was a great night. And a few of you were there too to watch. So that's been bothering me. Another thing is I know certain people will call up and complain about garbage laying around. It's really not that hard if somebody can just pick it up and throw it away. I think it makes more problems if somebody's going to call and complain all the time. It's about time that we all get together and start making our parks and our community look beautiful. It doesn't take much just to do that. It's really not much. I was talking to Fran, who did the concession stand last year, and she's interested in doing it again this year. She will come to the clerk's office, I believe, yes, and fill out all the paperwork that's necessary. Just so you know, I got in hold of her. Another thing I'm planning on doing, just before the season starts with baseball, because that's where we'll be busy, I'm planning on doing like a volunteer weekend where we'll get a bunch of the kids, maybe I can get some of the Babe Ruth kids together, and we'll start doing the bleachers like we did last year, paint them in Amenia, pick up the garbage, just start getting the fields ready, it's a nice start just to get everybody in the routine of things. It's nice to see that our community comes together. Another thing I'd like to talk about is I did talk to the cheerleading coach. Her name is Katrina Strassel. They have started their 2nd season. They have between 21 and 23 kids. She says she has 2 teams because they had to separate them age-wise. So they've moved from Fridays to Sundays, and they're pretty much here from like 12:30 to 4 o'clock. They had a choreographer come in and taught the girls some moves, and in March they'll be going to a competition. Not to compete, but like an expedition type thing, and learn and see. Next year they want to start early, around, I believe it is August, so they'll be ready to compete next year. And she's thinking about doing incorporating some kind of gymnastics with cheer, which is like a cheerleading gymnastics she was telling me about. She'll look into that. But at the end of this year, when they're done competing and stuff, they're going to have what they call a friends and family night, and that's their fundraiser. They need to help because they need more mats, and the mats are not cheap, we know, because we helped purchase one. I told her I would let, when she knows, We'll make sure it gets on the channel, and I'll be right there to watch them. These girls, they're so cute. I have a few that come up to me all the time, and they see me, and they have to show me some of their little moves. So, I mean, they're proud. They like what they're doing, and then eventually it will end up into the high school. So the next thing I like to talk, if I'm talking fast, please tell me to stop.
You're doing fine.
Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is the Amenia Farm League. Really, that's not too far away. We were talking at our meeting, so we decided that we're going to have sign-ups for the softball, the Little League, and the Amenia Farm League, which is tiny tots, 3 years old and up, 3 to 7, or 3 to 12, excuse me, years old can sign up, and we will have that on March 16th and March 23rd from 9 to 12 here at the Amenia Town Hall. Another thing, I talked to John Zenz, who's the athletic director. I got the approval from my commission to see about asking some of the high school kids if they want to get community service. They can come down and help to be umpires for our farm league only. And that's just something, you know, and I know my son in particular said that he would like to do it, but some of the parents, and I said, well, that's where I'll step in, because the parents don't have to be me. This is where the kids are going to learn from kids that actually play the game and they know what they're doing. I got a hold of some of the coaches that we've had in the past. So just so you know, we have DJ Riley will be doing Babe Ruth again. Ron Wilson will be doing Connie Mack, because the age has changed up to 19, so he will be doing Connie Mack, where Bob Dunlop will be assisting DJ and Ron as a coach. Chip Watt will again be doing softball for the girls, and Sam Bailey is going to be the coach for Little League. Another thing we want to talk about is like a winter gymnastics tumbling program. It was brought to our attention from the Steve Brent-Terry. I guess he's got like 29 years experience. He knows how to do, the right stuff. I don't know much about gymnastics, so you're asking the wrong person. I don't know. But if anybody is interested, I guess we're going to get it on. Chip Watt is working on this, and he's going to get it onto the Channel 22. So if anybody's interested, you know, get a hold of him. And his number is area code 845-702-7750. We just need to know if we have the numbers to actually make another program up. And if we don't, then, you know, he can send them to Sharon, has a program there right now going on.
What's the age for that? What's the applicable age?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
That's what I'm not sure about. He wants to see who we're going to get.
Okay.
And I guess then take it from there. That's how I understood it.
He needs a minimum of 10. And,
Yeah, and then-
and he runs the program in Sharon, right?
Right.
Isn't that
Yeah.
What's this one?
Steve?
Steve,
Brentari?
Steve
Gymnastics.
Brentari, Brentari. So it sounds interesting. If you have, you know, younger kids and stuff, mine are not into that, obviously. But as of right now, too, Chip Watt and John Zenz, from the athletic director up at the high school, have put this Weebutuck Valley Youth Basketball Program, and it's doing really well. They have 47 players that are playing, and they were playing here tonight, too, of all ages. I believe kindergarten up to, I think they have one 8th grader or something like that helping out. But, and I've run into a few of the kids, and they're really enjoying themselves. They're learning how to play the game, which is good. And that's going to, like a feeder program, start now as a feeder program, and then when they get to high school, maybe it'll be nice to actually sit there and really win big, you know? So, and that's pretty much all I have to say. We do have 7 members on our commission. Like I said, I am the chair again, so if anybody has any questions, they're more than welcome to get a hold of me. You can find me one way or another. Tom Warner is our second chair. Frankie O'Connell is our treasurer. Charlene Pollinger is secretary. Chip Watt is going to do our calendar for us. Linda Gregory is pretty much in charge of the Easter egg hunt and whatever else comes along. Oh, and then Chris Klinger, he has started back up on Sundays, the adult basketball at 8 a.m. They start here. So if any adult wants to do basketball, come on up here and see how you can do. So I just want to thank everybody again, and you have a good night. Any questions? Yeah.
Yep. I've gotten several calls from Millbrook School, and I've emailed you, and I've emailed
Yeah, we
Chip.
talked about that last night, yeah. I guess Chip was going to look more into that, I believe.
Right, because they're looking to use some fields, because their field's going to be under construction.
Yeah, Chip was going to look at the actual
at the actual schedules
Okay.
to see if we would be able to accommodate them at
I
all.
know.
But he did contact the athletic director, is that who it is?
Yeah.
That's been- Yeah, so
Did
he
he
did,
call?
he reached
Yeah.
out.
Okay, good. Also, is there any time frame as to when you're gonna put the scoreboards in?
That I don't know. I will have to get a hold of somebody for that.
I was wondering if some people had asked about a talent show that I think would be kind of fun to kind of showcase the cheerleaders and the basketball. I don't know how you can do it, but I think the auditorium and
That would be
the
awesome.
gym would be really great to just showcase our local talent. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I think it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I was thinking in March before it gets too,
Before baseball starts, you
yeah,
have to.
before the craziness of the summertime activities start. But I didn't know if Peter Cascone might be, a possibility for trying to help figure out how to manage such a thing. But anyway, I wanted to throw that out there.
That would be good. Friday night would
If
be good as
somebody-
long as it's not the first Friday night.
I met with Peter. He's gonna reach out to the school, because I think what they want to do with in March, sometimes like a battle of the bands with the local kids in the auditorium, so they can do something like that with he was gonna reach out to the school district to see if he could find there are some local bands, I believe, that kids that have music, play music and
Yes,
so on and
I
so
think
forth,
that's
so-
what I got, is a sense that these
Right.
kids want
They wanna have a place to go.
play
Yep.
and show off their
So
skills.
he was gonna start with the school district and
Yeah.
get that going, so
Okay. He
that's,
seemed like a good fit
yeah.
for that kind of.
they're gonna move some equipment in here also, some drums, some kind of a piano thing, and something else. 3 or 4 pieces of stuff they're gonna move here. So we'll have they're gonna lock them up in there, so they'll have some instruments here that they can play with.
That'd be great.
Any other questions?
Oh, I did have one, Sam Bailey. I did get a text from him. He's thinking about having a professional teacher come in to teach some baseball to the Little League. So that's something you can speak to him about.
Okay, you'll have to give me his number then.
It's 860-309-7015.
7015?
Yep.
Okay.
Christina, for movie night, doors open at 6, movie
Yep.
starts at 6:30?
Starts at 6:30.
Okay.
Yep, smells great in here with popcorn.
Bring
Bring your own drink. It's a lot of fun. We're doing really well with that too.
Good.
So, and afterwards, when we clean up, I think the kids enjoy it more because they're down here playing basketball, and I can't get them out of here. I'm trying to drag them out, and they won't leave. So,
Good.
yeah. Thank you.
Good job.
Any other committees?
I should mention that our enhancement committee is going to meet. The enhancement committee meeting is this Wednesday at 5:15. We're moving it up to get started a little earlier. And again, we're helping de-decorate the Amenia and Wasaic. So anybody who is available on Saturday at noon, feel free to come join us. We'd love to have lots of hands on deck for that. It'll go fast.
To continue the rec committee thing, we did receive 22 applications for the rec director. I think we have 8 or 9 that will scan to you people today that want to be interviewed. So that's moving forward. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Tonight I have Roz from the town of Dover, who does their IT work. So she's going to make a small presentation as to what is required of us to do. And then if your board has any questions for her, so that we can get up to the same speed as to what has to be done. Roz?
Good evening. Supervisor Flood had asked me to come. He came to the town hall a few weeks ago to just take a look around and see what we have there. I guess you guys are aware that the auditor from the New York State Comptroller's office is on the Route 22 corridor. They've been in Dover since June. I'm happy to say that after a risk assessment, this is the first time in 9 years that they are not going to recommend an IT audit for local government. So to me, that's great for us because usually they do IT audits now all the time. So the things that Supervisor Flood asked me to let you know that the things that they look for when they do an IT audit are security policies and computer use policies, among other things. You're required by law, by New York State law, to have them. And our policy is 42 pages long, and it's based on your infrastructure. So it doesn't really go by how big your town is. If you bring one computer into the town hall, you need to secure it. You need to have a policy that dictates how you're going to secure it. And the more infrastructure you bring in, the more networking you bring in, the more you have to add to your policies. So it is required by law with the computer use policy, along with several other policies. I wrote our security policy as well as our computer use policy. It must be signed by every single person that has an email account or uses a computer. And it's really to protect the town information resources. Because as you know, every town has tax collector information and town clerk information. And in New York, every local government or every government agency is the #1 target for cybersecurity. So for the past 5 years, I've sat on the New York State Homeland Security Local Government Committee for Cybersecurity. I've spoken at the Cybersecurity Conference in New York State, and I basically assist the Homeland Security Director in bringing information like this to local governments. So I don't know. Other than this, specific details about your security really need to be discussed in executive session. Your computer use policy is a little separate because your security policy dictates your infrastructure and your security, your computers, your networks, your firewalls, things like that. Where even the location of your server in a building. Your computer use policy dictates what employees can and cannot do when they're behind a town-owned computer, because it's taxpayer money that's funding that, and so there are certain controls that are meant to lock them down so that they can't use it as they would at home, to protect the information that they store of the constituents.
Do you, so you do this on a regular basis for the town of Dover, as I understand?
I work there full time, but I also run the television station. I do their website. They just put central services in my department, so I do quite a bit of things in Dover. Central services kind of worked its way into IT because we have a roundabout way of assisting all of the departments, so it just felt right to put central services in there. A lot of this this year is because we do have an auditor on site from New York State, and they make recommendations that aren't really recommendations. They're more like, this is what you should do. So we've been complying with recommendations since May.
Now, I understand you gave us a proposal for your services.
Well, Supervisor Flood had asked me if I was willing to assist you, and although I am full-time in Dover, I would be happy to assist you on a limited basis. You know, I also do level 1 through 3 help desk calls, so that, you know, it's a limited, I guess you have a consultant to do those type of things. So it would be, you know, based on, he asked me to come up on a few Saturdays ago, so based on that, I recommended, and did you send my email to
Yes.
the board? I recommended a few things that I saw just right off the bat. Your policies that you needed right away. And, you know, Supervisor Flood had said that you were looking at doing some streaming and other things, which I do for the town of Dover myself. We don't bring in consultants for things. I managed to get it done myself. So, one way or another.
So what specific services would you be offering us with your proposal?
Well, I could write your security policy. I would have to know your security, of course, what you have now, what your infrastructure looks like. because the policy is specific to your environment. So I could certainly help you with that. You're required by law to have a purchasing policy, essential, a cash management technology policy, a security and information notification breach policy, a computer use policy, and a security policy. And the information and security notification breach policy is if some information, like a laptop, gets stolen, or some information in other areas gets thrown away improperly. We're required by law to meet a benchmark of information that may rise to the level of information security. So, which may or may not bring in the Homeland Security, Cybersecurity Division. So the thing that you really have to remember is we're very much connected to our state counterparts who are always watching what we do. And cybersecurity is a very, very hot button issue now. Everyone has smartphones, and they get their email on smartphones, they get attorney-client privilege attachments on those phones. So how you dictate in a policy what users have to do in those phones are very critical, because it absolves the town of pending lawsuits and litigation if some of that information leaks out.
Okay, in order to assist in creating these policies, what kind of a time frame are we talking about?
It depends on, what you would like me to do, what you would like me to do first, a priority. I do
Well, considering we have nothing.
Don't we have a computer use policy? I mean, we certainly had that drawn up by...
It's part of the employee handbook that hasn't been passed yet.
But do all employees, do you have signatures of all employees on there?
That's intended, that's all incorporated into the one we're supposed to draft. I mean, it is useless unless everybody signs it, right?
Oh, okay. If an auditor came on site right now and said, I need to see the signed computer use policies, or even if it's incorporated in your personnel policy, you'd be able to show them that, and they would be, they know what they can and can't do on town-owned computers.
I think if they sign it off, the reality is we haven't quite signed it, but it's all been drafted and paid for. I mean, we have a professional computer use policy.
Right, we just need to do the resolution and pass it.
Right, and then we'd have it all signed, and then presumably they would all sign off and be responsible for understanding.
Because that's only one area that it affects.
Yeah, that's the user area. The computer use policy is the user side of what they can and can't do on a government-owned computer. The security policy is more of a building security. It's protecting your information resource assets too, but it's also your networking, because you need to lock down your network. For instance, you can have a wireless network and you can broadcast the SSID, but you cannot let anyone into your wireless network. It has to be secured. If you want to have the public access a town wireless network, it has to be a separate wireless network, because it's a foot in the door to your infrastructure. So many years ago, the town of Dover put an advanced enhanced router in. And it was very interesting, because when we put the router in, if you were to ping the router and look at it, you would see all the targets that were coming in, all the denial of service attacks, all the spyware and the viruses that were trying to get in. So when we first hooked it up, everything that showed up in red were all attacks. Everything that showed up in green was good traffic. It was traffic that were, our computers and our town-owned network. So we plugged it in for the first time, and it was all red. There were denial of service attacks that were coming in on a minute-by-minute basis, and it was amazing to see how under attack you can be as a government agency. And so you just have to make sure that someone is monitoring that. You have to make sure that that's in a policy, that they have to monitor that. And a security policy is just as important for your vendors to sign, your IT vendors.
I would think that would be the people who are protecting us. We just assume that it's protected, but since we don't have the policy, you're saying we need that policy to make sure our vendors are aware of the heightened level of service that they need to provide us given the fact that we're a municipality.
Right, a security policy takes the assuming away, and it makes them accountable. It makes your,
Yeah.
and it makes your IT people, even if they're on staff, it makes me accountable to the town of Dover for the things that I'm required to do. And it drills down to the point where how often your servers are updated, what the protocol is for updating servers, how often your vendors come into your server. How does that work? Do they just come in anytime they want? Because if something happens on your server, you as a town board have to know what's going on that server, and vendors should not have the option to come in at will. But that's the first thing the comptroller's office will tell you. They are consultants. They are not on staff. So you really need to have someone that's in the town hall that's watching them, because vendors are vendors, and they have many different towns and customers, and they should not be coming in at will whenever they want just to fix something.
So you gave us a proposal, but there's no actual contract to look at?
No, not yet.
So, just to be clear, the email you sent us with the proposal, is that to be more of a part-time IT person, or is it to just provide services that you see are lacking, like how we're not in compliance with the state, with several of, in the number one that you sent us, where you listed the 5 or 6 documents that we're not in compliance with?
It's really up to you. I mean, I'm more than willing to help you. I do work full-time at Dover, so I talk to Supervisor Flood, and I can give you 10 to 12 hours a week, and do whatever you'd like me to do based on your priority.
I mean, personally, I don't know how the rest of the board feels. I mean, I would like a cost or like a time estimate to what doing the different tasks would be, especially the documents that would get us into compliance with state. I mean, I'm not sure we're really ready to hire I mean, in my opinion, I'm not sure if we're ready to hire someone, but I mean, I think doing some of these tasks that you've outlined could be valuable. So, I mean, I would like an idea of what it would take to do it.
I couldn't tell you that until I really saw what your security was, and what it wasn't, and what your infrastructure was, and what you had. You know, I'd have to see, you know, your router. I'd have to see how much of an influence your IT consultants have when they come in. I couldn't let you know that until I see. Sometimes it's opening a can of worms, because not only do you have to write the policy, but then you have to make sure you comply with the policy, which sometimes are 2 different things. You can write a policy that New York State requires you to write, and then you can look at that policy and say, well, we don't do this, we have to do this, and we don't do this. And so when you open
any
up
policy that would be written would have to be collaborated with the IT person we have now, company we have now, who provides all of our IT services. So
Correct.
I don't see that happening. It wouldn't make any sense to just put a policy in place without having a conversation with the company we already have.
Absolutely. But the board is a very big part of any kind of security policy, because the board would dictate who would do what in an organization. So it's not a good idea to have a consultant do most of your IT work. You really do need somebody at the town hall level that's going to monitor what they do. For instance, we have a part of...
I'm just saying you would need to communicate with them to see
sure.
what they already provide.
And then you have to document
and then
that.
document that, and then just go on from there to see
Some of it we have.
to do a security policy based on what New York State requires.
Well, New York State requires a baseline, just like they do on all of our laws. So they require a certain baseline for us to follow, and then whether those services are performed by a consultant or in-house, they still have to the town still is obligated to make sure these are done.
Well, we understand that. That's why we're looking into
Sure.
seeing how we need to comply with this.
Would you install like a web filter or something like that, like a Barracuda system, and monitor that?
Well, it gets into security, but it depends on the board, and it depends on your resources and what you already have. You may already have a lot of great things.
Right.
And so they just need to be documented, and they need to be So everyone needs to know their place in the security policy. The IT consultants need to know what they're responsible for. The town needs to know what they're responsible for. And the one thing that a lot of smaller towns do is they turn over their IT tasks to a network consultant or to any consultant, and then they forget about it. And so the consultants have free reign over their network, and that's something that New York State frowns upon, because the town really has to be involved in their own security.
All right, so
So if the first step is an evaluation,
Yeah.
you can't really tell us what
Yeah.
we need until
Right.
can you at least provide us with an estimate of what it would take to do an initial evaluation, for you to go through what we have and
Report back.
then basically report back and say, you need this document, and it's going to take, it's probably going to take 15 hours to prepare, or something like, I mean, I don't, would you be able to do something like that?
Now I know what you're going for. When I wrote the town's security policy, the town of Dover security policy, I was very familiar, of course, with our network, and it took 42 hours to do the security policy. So, but we have a lot of information resources that we have to document. I don't know what you have. I would assume you have networks and routers, and I don't know how many servers. But you also have to have a computer inventory. That's a given. And so whenever you get rid of computers, you have to have it taken off the inventory. And there are also a lot of things that are cost prohibitive for an IT consultant to do. In other words, for example, an IT inventory. You have to make sure that you have serial numbers. 2 years ago, Microsoft came in and did an audit for us. So you have to make sure that all of your software is licensed, and you have to make sure that those licenses are written down, that all your computer serial numbers are down, and if you get rid of something, you have to dispose of it. That's also in the security policy, how you actually get rid of a computer, the protocols for doing that, because that's an information nightmare if you just throw it away. So, but a lot of this stuff you would think would be common sense. And so I think sometimes boards say, well, I'd never just throw a computer away. But you never know if someone in another department who doesn't have a policy that they sign, that they understand how you throw a computer away, just gets rid of it. And so it's, we started this a long time ago. I was hired in 2003, and we didn't really put an IT infrastructure in until 2005. So we started in 2005 with one server and maybe 25 computers. And so then what happened was each department started to get better at computers, and then the town clerk wanted Laserfiche, and the highway garage we're just installing a software package for them this year. And now we put in Municity, which is a whole land use thing. So every time you do that, every time you put in a new software application, you have to make sure it fits the protocols of the security policy, and it's added to the security policy. And so each vendor has to sign that policy and understand how they come into the town network, what they can do while they're in the town network, because you have other vendors, not just your IT vendor. You have other application vendors that remote in. And so users have to understand that when they remote into a user computer, a few months ago, we had our financial system, which one of our bookkeepers called and said that, called our financial software company and said that they couldn't print checks. So it turned out that they couldn't print checks because we didn't finalize the year. And after you go a couple of months, our software system shuts down and says, no, you have to finalize the last year. So when they called their help desk, it was, we need to print checks. So the help desk from the finance software company said, okay, they need to print checks, we'll just finalize the year. And they finalized the year because their goal was to print checks. So you have to make sure that users understand the parameters, that what a consultant does under their user ID is their responsibility. And unless you have policies that dictate that and that are signed by the users, they don't know. They can say they don't know. And so you need to shift the onus from the town the liability from the town to the users, and to make sure that they understand through education that these are the protocols for what they can do and what they can't do on a town computer.
Okay.
What are the smaller towns doing about this? Because this seems like a huge leap of you know, the unfunded mandates basically from the state saying now you've got to, you know, you've got all these great access issues. That's
Right.
great for, you know, for the
Well,
public
this-
to see the transparency, but they can also break in, they can also steal your money out of your bookkeepers. But how are small towns suddenly making this leap that sounds like it's, or were we just asleep at the wheel and didn't realize we needed a policy that, what did you call that? A central service,
Security policy?
your security policy. I mean,
Well,
I
I
haven't even
think-
heard of that.
I think what's happening now, if you go on the state comptroller's website, you're seeing that the comptroller's office over the past, I'd say 3 or 4 years, has really gotten involved and kicked up IT audits for local governments. So I do believe that Northeast is going through an IT audit right now, and so they're on their knees because they don't have anything.
Right.
And so, if you look at some of those audits, and you look at small towns, it doesn't really matter. They're auditing small towns to make them aware of what they have to do. So, IT vendors are not the right people to do the policies because they don't.
No.
Bass doesn't know New York State security. They know cybersecurity, but they don't know New York State security. So what I go around and I try to get across to local governments is that you need to take somebody in your organization that has a little bit of computer knowledge. They don't have to be a network consultant. They can be computer savvy. The person usually that you have that clears print queues for everybody, does things like that. They have to read the New York State cybersecurity policy. They have to learn as much as they can about it. They have to talk to their IT vendor, and then they have to be okay at putting together a policy that the board can look at and review. And so it's more, the way I started out was more of an administrative IT person, because I'm not a computer expert. We have consultants ourselves. We have computer consultants, hardware and software, and we have network consultants. But what I do is I started out as level 1 and 2, clearing print queues, helping people that didn't understand how to get into Office, but the town board also charged me with making sure that I was the one that was aware of everything New York State wanted us to do. Because every week it was like, what else do they want us to do? What else do they want from us? So then I ended up, through a couple of years, putting it all in one policy, and it's finally passed an audit. So at least now I'm confident that what Dover has is what they're looking for. So it's really an administrative thing. It's an administrative task that can understand a little bit of computer terminology and what networks do. It's not so much a network thing. So you can pay somebody administrative prices,
Right.
as opposed to $110 an hour for a computer consultant. Because the more you can get rid of that consultant and have him do level 4, 5, and 6 help desk calls, and the cheaper it's going to be for you, and the most cost effective it's going to be.
Good.
As a New York State employee, I know we have mandated service every year that we have to do online. There's a program set up, and I think through, I think one of the state offices, and I'll see if I can find it. There's actually, I think, a sample program of the protocols that employees, have to follow as far as who you
We have
report to, if you make a breach and what.
Well, you're also required by law, which, there's a lot of requirements, but you're required by law to offer your employees cybersecurity training once per year.
Right.
So that's what I do. And this year, we were going to offer it to Amenia and Pauling and just have them come out to Dover so that you could check that off your list. But it got pushed back because of a court date. So we're going to do it I think we're going to do it in February. So we'll still extend that offer so that your employees can come out. I usually do it at 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 7 p.m. so that if your employees want to make sure that you can say you offered it. For us, it's required. So if you don't come to one of those 10 10 to or 7 o'clock cybersecurity trainings that's required by New York State, then you do not get your email. Because it's information resources. It's not just your physical computer. It's what you do on an email. For example, it's who you forward it to and how you conduct yourself with a town email account that they really need to comply with.
Okay, so if I touch base with you next week, we can get some kind of an idea as to what it's gonna cost?
As
Or-
far as
or-
an
or
evaluation,
Evaluation,
that's
take you
a
through.
first step.
Through the value, through the building.
Whatever you'd like me to do,
Sure, okay.
no
Is that
problem.
okay with the board?
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a cost ahead of time,
Sure.
sort of an estimate, for
I
sure.
understand.
Yeah.
Thank
Or
you.
you can have Bass do it. I mean, it doesn't have to be me.
They've done some, but I wanna make sure between the two of us that we're all on the same page.
It's certainly, it's, like I said, I'm not, I have a full-time job
Sure.
and I love what I do, so I'm not looking to jump ship from one town for another, but you're certainly our neighbors and I'd love to help you any way I could because I do know the auditor now quite well since they've been here since May, and they keep asking, so how's things in Amenia? And I'm like, I don't know, what do you keep asking about Amenia for? I
He was
don't go
here.
that way. Oh, that's why.
And he was here.
Yeah, see, he's right on the way between Northeast and Dover, so
He's driving
only a
right by
matter of
us.
time.
We're next.
We're next. It's only a matter of time.
IT security should also, I think, include the cell phone of anybody that either the town pays for in part or whole.
Well, there's a whole movement called BYOD, bring your own device, and the problem with that is that, towns, or really any corporation can't
One cell
dictate
phone.
what,
As a
it's
town
a
pays
very
for.
fine line. When you get a town email on a personal phone, it's very hard to dictate what to do with that personal phone. A town can't, we have 5 platforms that we issue, but I issue them, lock them down, and so they're town-owned. So they can't download apps, they can't do anything. But then we have the town board members who don't get town-issued phones.
Right.
And so what happens there is they get their town board email on there, but written in our security policy is what you can and can't do with that email on that phone. So, and the protocols for having that. It's the same thing, and there's a couple of anecdotal stories with working from home on your personal computer and doing town business.
Can you
There's a
speak
couple.
into the microphone just
I'm sorry.
because people
Yep, sure.
on television?
There are a few instances of attorneys that have subpoenaed records, personal computers of town officials because they either checked their mail on their own computers or they did town business on personal computers. And you do open yourself up to liability when you use a personal computer to conduct town business, because they will come in and they'll take that computer, and rightfully so, because you really shouldn't be doing that.
Or
But-
vice versa, if you conduct personal business on a governmental computer, there again, you're
Well,
opening yourself up.
in the town of Dover, if you conduct personal business on the town computer, the town owns whatever business you do on that computer.
That's right.
So if you open your Yahoo account on a town computer and walk away, then the town owns whatever Yahoo email you have on there. And so our users, and we're talking the security policy is kind of old, the computer use policy is much older. But in the beginning, there was a little pushback because it's hard to go from lockdown, from wide open to lockdown, which is what we did several years ago. But now, if you'll ask them, I think they would say that it's great there because everything is done through group policy, and group policy really should be done by the town board. What you're allowed to do on a computer in a town, it shouldn't be up to your IT consultant. Your IT consultant should advise you, but you guys are the people that should be telling employees what they can and can't do on town computers. So you're a very big part of any security policy that is implemented.
Well, that's why we made it part of our employee handbook.
That's a computer use policy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we asked the consultant for.
We have leased rooms in the building. How do we get around them bringing their computer systems in and wanting to tie in
They can't tie in. They shouldn't be allowed to tie into the town network. We had, you know, the last,
Nobody's done that.
the last storm we had, we had a lot of people without power, so we were on generator. We had our wireless network up. I had to tell a couple of town board members that we were not able to let people go onto our wireless, and I felt awful about that. So with this budget, I said, well, if you want to have a public Wi-Fi network, then let's do one. Let's put in a separate router, because once they have a foothold into your network, there's a lot of people that know a lot more than I know, and there's a lot of people that, and you will have if you get a network, if you get an IT audit, you'll have someone from the comptroller's office that will be sitting right next to your IT guy saying, so you're really locked down? And they'll say, yes, we are. And he'll say, really? Because I'm right into your server. So they do penetration testing. They do a lot of stuff. And then they write you up for it, and it's a very public process. And it's not nice. I'm sure we'll be written, you're never not written up for anything with New York State. But I was pleased to see that it was a 3-hour grilling, an IT grilling that I spent with them, in which they tried to get into the network, and they couldn't. And so it was really intimidating, but I learned a lot from it. I learned what they want, what they're looking for, and what they try to get you.
Good. Thanks, Roz.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for all your time.
Real quick, along those lines, this is perfect along these lines here. Just got a call today, and it's something that I want to make all of you aware of, especially the town employees, but also the public. There's this new scam going on right now. If you do get a phone call, it's one that I got today was somebody with a foreign accent, let's put it that way, saying that they represent Microsoft and there's a security hole in their operating system, and they would like to gain access. They wanted to know what software you're using for your firewall, and they wanted to test the security hole in it. So, I think you know I'm not that, a little background there, so he quickly hung up on me when he realized I knew what I was talking about. So, just for the town employees and such, it will sound very legit, like it's Microsoft Engineering or Microsoft Software Support calling you. They will not call you to test this. So, just to be sure that the employees and such, if they do get a phone call, because if they're hitting us out here in Amenia, they're going to be hitting you guys.
Thanks. Okay, the Main Street grant, Mike, I guess you wanted to start about it? Did you want to talk about it tonight?
Yeah, I think it'd be great if Mike came up to give us some of the help, but we did meet, was myself and Victoria, to talk about the application process, and we reviewed the applications with John Fenton, who's been looking particularly at the applicants and their proposals and what's doable and what isn't. And it seemed pretty clear, given our priorities that were listed as part of the grant process. I don't know, do you want to go through that? Or, I mean, it's very clear what the priorities of this grant funding was.
I could.
And some of these applicants looked better than others, but I believe there's a process that we need to follow, Mike, in actually making that award to the applicant or applicants.
Well, there is. You have to be open and fair. You do have a committee that has met twice now. Darlene was there at the first meeting with John and Victoria, and we reviewed the 6 applications that the town received with an eye toward the priorities that the town set when you did the application, and you approved that, which I can just read them quickly if you want. The priorities were projects that include renovations to upper story residential units, as well as street level commercial units, projects with historic value or historic properties in danger of being lost, projects that address immediate health and safety concerns, or projects that remedy a code violation or provide for improved handicapped accessibility, projects that will contribute to the economic revitalization of downtown Amenia. And it's a $195,000 grant, just to give some background. $160,000 of that is for building renovations, $25,000 is for streetscape improvement, and $10,000 is for grant administration. In meeting, looking at the applications, it was great to have John there because he brought his expertise in building inspections, and it was suggested at the first meeting that one of the priorities should include a complete scope of work for these projects. So that did kind of narrow down the field a little bit because some of the applications were a little bit more complete and addressed more some of the concerns of these priorities. I guess what you're saying is that there are criteria, and the projects have to be evaluated based on those criteria. And at some point, we do have to write down these discussions. I have been keeping minutes of the meetings.
But doesn't the grant have criteria? What can be done?
Yes, that too, Bill. These reflect those.
Okay.
The town's criteria reflect the grant's criteria.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So they are the requirements.
And I think too, in the discussions, and I think everyone agreed that they would like projects that have the most impact on the appearance of downtown Amenia in the historic gateway near Fountain Square. Because when we applied for the grant over the years, it was always to be focused on Fountain Square as the historic gateway to Amenia. And also, a big part of the deliberations was the ability of landowners to finance the projects. They have to sign property declaration forms, they have to show that they have financing arranged, or that at least they're willing to finance, because the grant will reimburse landowners, but they have to finance the project 100% up front. They can be reimbursed up to 75% of the costs, and that can be done on an interim basis as it progresses. So anyway, we've met, there were 6 applications, and it seemed that the consensus was that 2 of the applications were the strongest, and I don't know, should I say what the committee?
Yeah, John, did you want to speak?
Well, like Mike was saying,
At the,
well, out of the 6 applications, we noticed that there was 2 that were.
You need to
complete-
speak into the microphone, I'm sorry. Go ahead and start from the beginning.
After reviewing all 6 applications, we kind of came to the conclusion that 2 of them were completely filled out, and they had all the required information that was needed. It so happened also that geographically, these 2 properties were smack in the middle of Main Street. So they were pretty much ideal for this grant. So, if you're looking at the scope of what needs to be done, the 2 that we kind of picked falls right in line. And I did field inspections on both locations, and the scope of work, actually, what's being requested is actually scaled back. It needs a little bit more work than what's being requested. So, and I know we're strapped with so much money that we could spend on this, and one of the applicants needs quite a bit of work, and probably would absorb close to 75–80% of that grant. So that's what we pretty much came up with.
Yeah,
Right.
and it would definitely have a big impact if these 2 proposals were recommended, and if they are willing to go, the landowners are willing to work with the state and the town, because it is a very detailed process. They're going to have a contract with the state, but I think it could have a big impact on Amenia. And this grant comes up every year. If we get it completed, it has to be completed by the end of 2013. But we can apply again in April for another one. There's more grant opportunities out there. One from the Greenway next month, for example. So, I mean, I think it would behoove the town to move forward on this if you are willing to consider.
Do we need to provide a written scoring for each of the applicants? Or
I think that would help, yes. I'll check with the Office of Community Renewal as to what exactly they need, but I would assume they will, and that's why I was keeping minutes of the meetons.
To document that
They
we...
could even detail that in more detail, or interview each one of you and come up with a scoring system, like on 1 to 5, like we did with the
Trail to
RFQ
Train.
process. Yeah.
I was thinking that if we went into executive session, we could actually go through the criteria and the applications. If we had time tonight, go ahead and give a rating for each of these applicants. It's pretty clear, I mean, either the application is complete or not, so, you know, there's one. Is it historic preservation or not? There's a second criteria. It seems like a very easy process that would take about a half an hour, 30 minutes to go through if you guys were willing to do an executive session, but that's your call. The point of going forward with this is that we have 1 year to complete these applications. It's not fair to the applicants to be strung out yet another month, not knowing whether they're funded or not. And we have one building that needs structural repairs, and in order for us to understand, and they to understand whether or not this makes sense for them to go forward, they need to get their structural report done ASAP for both our sense of security, for the bank if they need a loan. They're going to want to know that the bank, you know, that their money is going for a sound
So that's
project.
one of the things we already checked into, I believe, when you spoke to them, John?
Yes, I'm not totally positive on the financials with the applicant, but the one thing that Vicky was saying is the scope of work that needs to be performed is quite extensive. It's time, it would definitely be of the essence to get this thing, you know, rolling, because it's
So
quite a
are
bit.
we ready to announce the applicants yet?
I think we should go into executive session and do a scoring so that there's a documented, fair playing field, that we've given each of the applicants a good, long, hard look, and have a documented process where we evaluated them and gave them a score.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I recommend.
Did you want to do that tonight?
If Bill would like to call for an executive session, I think it's up to
Because it
him.
would be just be the three of us.
Right, can you do that with the three of you?
Yes.
That's a form, is it form?
Yeah. Form. Yep.
Okay,
I think we should do that.
Okay.
because we're not voting.
I see.
Could a renter qualify for this as well as the owner?
No, you have
No.
to have deed. You have to have the deed to the property.
They could ultimately benefit by renovations or their apartments,
Could
but,
they?
yeah, no, they can't.
No.
It has to
Would
be
you like
a-
John and Mike to stick around for
I would
this?
love to have John and Mike do that at the end of the meeting if they can hold out till we're done.
Sure.
We'll be another couple hours anyway. All right, we'll get through this fast.
Yeah, thank you.
Recreation director, discussions and set interviews. You will scan the applicants today, or yesterday, right? Yesterday?
I feel a lot of these applicants have no references. I think we need to get references from each one of them before we even evaluate them, rather than just take it at face value that someone sends in an application, we have no job performance and no results of what they've done through the years, so.
Okay.
The
I'm not
problem,
ready.
though, is it's for those that actually have a job. So I think some of them would be sensitive. If I am still working and I'm applying for a new job, I don't want anyone calling my references unless I know I have a good chance of getting the job. So,
Some of these are as far away as Utah.
well, so
I mean,
obviously they're ready to move. But,
We have reached out to them. One from
I'm
Utah,
amazed at all the
each from
people.
upstate New York, right? He
Yeah.
would relocate to Amenia. I know Mary had that discussion with him.
Well, I don't think it's fair to have an interview I think we need to know more about them. I don't know how we do that without references. Because some of them were very forthcoming with their references, and some were not.
well, I mean, we can ask for them. I would just say we need to be careful about
Yeah,
who
and
we
they wouldn't
contact.
necessarily have to be job related to the specific job they have now.
Do you want to set a date so we can start these things?
Yes, we should.
Yeah, I think we should.
some dates
Spring
in
is
mind
around the
here.
corner, and
Well, we need to now, actually. The dates work for everybody.
So we're going to meet to review and choose who we're going to interview.
Frankie, did you want
Yeah.
something?
Okay.
Wouldn't they have to have a background check anyway, since they're working with children?
Sure. Most of them do.
Is this ad that was in the paper been corrected, or is it stand as it is?
What ad?
What ad?
The one that you put in the paper, it says full-time.
We'll take care, we took care of that.
You took it, how did you?
No, we took it out. I think they just told them it was part-time. And actually, we can deal with that.
Okay, we have dates and times.
You're looking to do that next week? This
Probably, yeah.
following week? So any day but Thursday or Wednesday or Friday is good for me.
so you're talking the week of the 21st?
Yeah. Or, well, the 14th through the 18th, is that?
That's next week.
Oh, next
Yeah,
week, doing it
next
next
week.
week.
Wednesday's the only night I can do it.
You can do it Wednesday?
Yeah, that's the only one.
We have CAC, don't we?
Yeah, so I was thinking if you're going to be there for that, we could come a little early.
I could miss the enhancement committee meeting, I guess. It's the 5:15.
I believe so. But we received a lot of these before.
We've had a lot of them for a while.
We've had them.
I just meant, were you gonna keep it open?
No.
Do you want to?
We could try the following week, the 22nd through the 25th.
Are you talking the 16th for next week?
Well, we were thinking the 16th, but I have enhancement.
We have two
and-
meetings that night.
Yeah, I mean, it's already set up.
Okay, then how about the following Wednesday?
21st?
Monday?
I
Is
could be
town
here by
hall
5.
closed for Martin Luther King Day?
Yeah.
But we can
Meeting.
still have a meeting, as long as it's posted.
Yeah, I'm fine with the 21st.
Sure, I'm fine.
So at that meeting, we're just selecting who we want to interview? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think by then we'd have an idea.
When is
So-
it?
5 o'clock on the 21st, okay?
5 o'clock?
Is this going to be a special meeting, so we're going to executive session?
Yes.
Yeah. You're right.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, the ad just went in for the zoning board of appeals chair, and they have a opening, so that ad was out today.
Right, and we have
I
a
mean, just for
planning
the
board
open
also.
seat, right?
For the open seats, all volunteer positions, so she had listed.
So
there's
planning board, okay.
There's several on enhancement. Whatever you had asked back in December, Patty had put that in, it's in the paper for today.
Okay.
And applications are due January 24th.
Could you put that on Channel 22 also?
Sure.
To make sure it gets out to everyone.
So just to make that clear, if anyone's interested in serving on the planning board, zoning board, no, not recreation.
Yes, Recreation Commission, there's an opening in March.
It's not till the spring, though.
March. So you have to advertise now, that way you can interview come
Okay.
February.
So Recreation, Enhancement Committee, CAC, I'm sure there's opening. So if anyone's interested, submit an application. Town Clerk's Office, there are applications. Do we have an application on the website?
They're on the website, and
Okay.
we'll make sure they're also outside of our door, that way they can come. Any of the boards requires a letter of interest, so keep that
Yes.
in mind. You can come and take the application, but a letter of interest needs to be submitted with that.
Do you have a full board now for the ZBA?
No.
Well, we have one member who the current date of meetings is a conflict, but so we have one member that we need to resolve that. Then there's an open seat.
All right. The reason why I'm asking is we have 4 variances coming up. Pretty important.
We need to talk about that tonight, actually, how we're going to deal with that, if we want to talk about that now.
And one of them is litigation.
Well, I mean, I guess at this point, I know we've already pushed the meeting back, but if we want to make sure we at least have 4 members, we need to push the meeting back into February.
Okay.
And it's not really, it's not our call to make, but if there are going to be 4 members, otherwise there's 3 members, and that means 1 dissenting member, and that, whatever the application is, it's going to fail. So,
Legal notices went out already for the 3rd Wednesday this month.
well, then I think the applicants, you have to hold the meeting, but the applicants will have to be given the choice of a continuance if they would like to the following meeting, if they would like more than 3 members to judge their application or make a decision on an application.
Okay.
Is Judy going to stay on or no, for a month?
Well,
That would solve the problem, if she stayed for a month. That would
Somebody
be.
said she
The-
would.
the issue is, can we appoint someone for 1 month? I don't know if we can actually do that, or if we have to appoint
Why
her.
why can't we just appoint a chair?
Well,
They don't
do we
need
want
3
to,
members.
I mean, if we want to appoint a chair, we should probably have interviews next week then, because the meeting's on the, I mean, I'm going to vote no unless I interview unless I'm part of interviewing 2 candidates. So, I mean,
Well,
unless
we
the
can,
board
but-
wants to appoint someone
But
without
we need
having
someone
interviews.
to be kind of in charge of it, and handling it.
Can we appoint
I mean,
an
right now,
acting
there's
chair
nobody.
until, I mean, if Judy would be an acting chair?
But she's already resigned.
She's resigned, but the question is, do we want to reappoint her? That would also help with the issue of only having 3 members at the meeting. She's willing to come to the meeting, so it's up to us. The question is, can we appoint her for a month and we don't have legal representation to say, can we just appoint her for a month, or do we need to appoint her for a full term and then she resigns again? I mean, it's up to us, but
If we can legally do that, I think it would move things along in your department. It is a burden when someone gets a delay.
Yeah, what's
I've been on the
happening
other
is
end of that.
One of the applicants is in litigation, and
Yeah.
Court is going to be contingent off of that meeting. We'll have court that next Tuesday.
I just couldn't get an answer for tonight if we can appoint her for 30 days. That would solve the problem if we just appointed her through January 31st.
Did you call tap this, Albany?
I didn't have time to do that today.
We'll have to see what we can do.
So can we,
Well, we have to make some sort of decision tonight.
yeah, if we could make a motion to appoint her for 30 days pending a legal opinion on that.
Well, I think we need the legal opinion first before we appoint anybody.
So
There's
maybe
been
we
a
could
couple
do that
emails
on,
back and forth, so we
at the
better be
special
careful with
meeting.
this.
We could do this
Yeah,
at
I
the
think,
special
I
meeting.
think, I don't think we
I
can
don't
do
think we should do
anything. We have a meeting next week, we can
Add that to the agenda.
Yeah.
add that to the agenda. I don't think we ought to do anything tonight.
My department was unaware of the status of the board, so legal notices went out, assuming that we had full board.
It's understandable.
We'll get there.
You may have
Meeting
to
on the
point it out.
21st? I thought the ZBA meeting was the 23rd.
Which one is it? The 23rd?
The 3rd?
Because if it's the 23rd, we meet on the 21st and we can deal with it
That's
then.
the 23rd. Is that the 3rd Wednesday?
No, the 3rd Wednesday is the 16th.
I'm sorry, then it would be the Wednesday after that.
So then the 4th.
Be the
Wednesday.
24th, 23rd.
The 3rd.
23rd?
Is that the Wednesday after?
The 23rd is the following Wednesday after.
Yeah.
So the
23rd.
3rd Wednesday is the 16th, the 4th is the 23rd.
So that'll,
Okay, so
so
it's
will give us a week to figure out what we need to do.
Because we missed this week's meeting, we had to send out legal notices, and we had to to give time to circulate the applications to whoever's on the board. So with that time frame, Ian McDonald wanted the meeting on the 23rd. I'm assuming, is that what it is on the calendar?
It's the fourth Wednesday.
Fourth Wednesday.
Good,
Yeah.
okay.
So that's the date.
So we can take whatever action we need to next week.
Okay.
So on the 21st when we meet?
What?
So on the 21st when we meet,
Yes,
that'll be on.
5 o'clock.
The Tuesday after,
Yes.
that's when court is.
Okay, so
Okay.
if we have a meeting on the 21st, we can make that decision?
Well, we're meeting, we have a, when's our town board meeting?
24th.
24th. It's afterwards.
Well, as long as we advertise for the 21st, we're all going to be here then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A special meeting.
Okay. No set? Supervisor's report, just a little bit tonight. We met with Jonathan Harkness from the heating and air conditioning system. He'll have a quote ready for us within the next week or so, right?
Yep, that's what he said.
That's what he said, so that's moving forward. Other than that, I did receive, you got a letter today from the Bank of Millbrook. I did reach out to Ron Moss today, and we're having our people talk to his people again, so we'll see where we are with that thing. And other than that, that's all I've got. So, town board comments?
I think the Palopolis is going forward, and Ruben is going to come back and talk to us, but he was considering doing the group workshop with Palopolis with members of the community on Saturday the 2nd, 3 to 5. Maybe you already know off the top of your head if Saturday is booked in the gym already, or if that's an opening. Anyway, I'll throw that out there, but he'll come and pitch it as well, but maybe we can
He's got to go to the town clerk and...
I told him to get a building use form and
Right.
fill it out and see if it's open.
When is it?
Well, he's suggesting Saturday, 3 to 5.
What Saturday?
Oh, March 2nd, sorry, March 2nd.
Well, when's the farmer's market?
It'd be after the farmer's market, so it'd be tight, but he thought that they could slide in and out. Right, you're right, it's the farmer's market. Yeah, they were out by 3 o'clock in the morning. Using it.
Anybody else?
No.
Today? No? Public comments?
Tom Warner. Since we have the basketball man here, we had one comment that wasn't a complaint, just a comment, that 8 o'clock Sunday morning was a little early. Would it be possible to change?
It wasn't me.
That was the one that we had, that I've had, and none other. And it was just a comment. The man wasn't really complaining. He said he'd like to play, but he couldn't get up at 8 o'clock.
We're there till about 11.
Just want to make some comments and ask some questions about the young lady who did a very good job of presenting these issues in regards to your whatever it is meeting, and that's my generational thing, that the security of the computers and all your information, and audits and what have you. Number one, you should never worry about an audit. You should be glad that they do one. In the old days, which you know I'm going to tell you about, Comptroller's office would send somebody down, whatever. You didn't always know that they were coming, and that was a good thing. And they published their findings in the paper, negative, positive, whatever. That's the way it is, people. Then when we got into computers, there was less of a appearance from the controller's office for audits. That's during my time that I remember. I don't know what happened once we got into the 21st century there. I'm not sure how often they came down. It didn't sound to me like there's been too much auditing. But it's not something that should not be done. And you indeed are living in a world where everybody knows everything. Somebody's sitting here on a computer right now. I don't have one like that. I'll never have one like that. I'm still going to pick up the phone as much as possible if I can find a number. But you really need to, and I'm surprised that the young lady here from Dover sounded like she's been working for Dover for a number of years. Was I wrong? And
Almost
again,
10
you know,
years.
I have a hearing thing here.
Almost 10 years.
Where have we been? Town of Amenia should know about these kind of things. Have you all been to the Association of Towns, or aren't they having these meetings anymore, or do they even address these kind of issues? Because the Association of Towns used to be the major training sessions for every year, especially for incoming officers and presenting new policies and procedures. You do need to get onto this one. Whether you need to hire somebody outside, I don't know. I can't tell from what your staffing is because I really don't know it. You know, but we used to have a quarterly, what we call reconciliation, where an accountant came in every 4 months and reviewed the books. Okay, that was manual. I'm sure that we had a problem that I had to call for somebody from the controller's office to come down here and straighten out our books, which they never could. We had to start from scratch, but that's the way it was. But I'm surprised that this is coming up after the budget, if indeed you are interested in hiring somebody. And it sure sounds like you're going to have to, because of all this high-tech world you live in and all this computerized stuff going on. And everybody can get into it and take it, and I'm being very, you know. All right, Bill?
Right.
You know, you're the budget officer, and you're the guy that's got to answer
we have money
to
set aside for it. We have some money in my budget, in my line, to do it.
All right, because that's where it should come from.
Correct. We have some stuff that's been done through our IT people. So as we're working with Roz a little bit, I'm sort of finding...
With all due respect, I don't know who that gentleman is, and that's only because...
That gentleman, that's our building inspector. That's John Fenton.
That's your bill collector.
Building inspector. Well, he could be a bill collector.
He's our new building inspector.
Building inspector.
Roz is the IT person.
Very glad to meet you. All right, Bill, I'm glad, you know.
So that's what we're working with them, because we do have some security in place. We're just making sure that we are further along, because obviously we're going to have and I agree, an audit is good, there's no question, but we're going to have one shortly. It's been 7-8 years since the town's had one, and they were here a few weeks ago.
Good.
They were here, just stopped in and checked some other stuff.
Did you find that?
Yep.
Again,
What's that?
not...
No, it's fine with some budget issues, and we actually sat with him for a couple hours and just asked him different questions and so on and so forth. So he was very, very helpful for it.
That's right.
So
now the language today is not the best language in the world, people. There's a lot of bad language going out there in everyday life, which is, to me, a very sad commentary on the younger generation. My young generation did their thing, and hopefully we got rid of some of it. But now it's all coming back, so I hope you can all talk to each other back and forth without, you know, and which it sounds like you could.
Sure.
But it is not something that should be looked upon as, oh, we don't need that, we don't want to do that, we're scared of having to come out and print.
No.
No, you're not. Taxpayers paying for this.
Well, they have the right to know.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm glad to hear that. So I would be, in the sense of, supportive of what you're saying.
Yep.
Number two, when it comes to looking back at this meeting, as everybody's talking from the audience, is that, and I don't watch every one of your meetings replay, 100%, you know. Will the public be able to hear what all these people said?
No,
No, they won't.
it's an issue.
So you're running the meeting, which is your choice. You're running it like it's just open talk without mics. And those of us who might want to watch it and say, gee, what did go on at that workshop? I want to see that work. Won't really know what's going on. It's just, I don't know how you fix it, Bill, but you're running it like the planning board.
Yeah.
And you've got to get over that.
I like to have the public.
You got to get over that habit, and you got to get them on the mic.
Sure. Mike, are we live today? Are we live? Okay, all right. Those are questions. What's that? Yeah, we may have to. Okay. Are we all set? I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Executive session.
Oh, we're
To
going
executive session.
We have to adjourn to go into executive session.
I'll make that motion.
Second.